Every day I wake up and I feel so alive. I think to myself.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Cheeky Cauldron podcast, where no topic is too spicy for the pot. As we move into the month of May, we're going to do a little bit of a pivot away from religion and spirituality and go into the Divine Mother. This is the perfect month to do it. And even though the Divine Mother is year-round and through everything, we are going to be focusing on all aspects of divine feminine, of feminine energy, and the power that it yields. So today's episode specifically explores the divine feminine. And we have a very special guest with us, Miss Kidada, a.k.a. Priestess of the Party, which I love.
It's me.
Kidada's relationship with the divine feminine is illuminated in all aspects of her life, in her music, her dance gatherings. She even has a book that talks about how to color your heart, 25 ways to keep your heart light. Mm-hmm. All of this is the embodiment of divine feminine, and we cannot wait to explore all that is Kidada. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Cheeky Cauldron. I don't know where that name came from, but I like it.
That was the divine feminine exploration as well.
Yeah, that's nice.
So our Cheeky Eat segment this week is the manifestation of divine feminine as well. We chose an East Austin gem called Laundrette. And the reason why it is a divine feminine manifestation is because it's owned by a woman. Mm-hmm. And she not only owns, I almost called it Cheeky Eats. That'll be the name of our restaurant. She not only owns Laundrette, but she also owns Austin's Phrases Chicken, which I'm sure I just butchered the pronunciation, and Century Club.
I think, is it Frisa?
Frisa?
Fresa or Frisa?
I feel like it's a Spanish word, and so I'm butchering it. But anyway, Fresa. She owns that, Fresa's Kitchen, and Century Club, as well as Laundrette. This woman, her name is Tracy Overath. She is winning in a male-dominated field. She has carved her way in, and she's doing it like a woman. These restaurants have impeccably unique cuisine. They are operated and run by women. It's amazing. So hats off to you, Tracy. We are going to show you some of the food that we ate there that we enjoyed. But for those of you who are interested in checking it out, it is on 2115 Holly Street, again on the east side. And it used to be a gas station and a laundromat, and that's why she named it the Laundrette.
That's so neat.
Wait,
I
right?
love
A gas
that.
station and a laundromat?
Yeah.
I love
and this
it.
was a long time ago, clearly. But I thought it was cool that she honored East Austin. She honored the space and laundry. That usually fell on us.
Yeah.
She turned it into
Clever.
a high-end restaurant. So
I love it. The food was so
Just
good.
a little bit of washing.
Just a little
bit.
bit. There we are. That's some of the art that was on the wall. It was really cool. We should have gotten the artist who did it. So that's a little bit of the inside. That's us again. We like taking pictures of
That's
us.
so crisp inside. That's nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice inside, yeah.
It's
The food
really
is
great
good.
because it's clean. They kept it modern, but it still feels like East Austin.
And the dishes were super unique, like that beet hummus.
That
was
beet
unique.
hummus was the best to me.
Yeah.
And the steak that was just up there.
And I like the snapper crudo with that little bit of like, it had like a spicy kick to it. I know TT doesn't like the
She don't like
spicy.
spice.
But I mean, it's the Cheeky Cauldron, so we got to have some spice.
Yeah.
Spice.
And that's
We
why
gotta
I
have
was
some
going to say that
spice.
beet hummus was kicking because I've been doing this vegan thing. I'm going into my second 30 days and I don't like beets. But that hummus, I was like licking the plate.
Yeah, it was really good and it was clean. You didn't feel disgusting after.
Yeah.
I actually like the apps better than
The main meals,
the main dish. But when I went there before, they had like a beef short rib and some sweet potatoes. I don't know. that main dish was really good. So I like that the dishes changed too.
Mhm.
Seems like
Yeah.
they keep.
And I didn't catch it, but I had a cauliflower dish and a mushroom dish.
They were both
That,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was so good.
I loved my bronzino.
I'm on my veggie kick right now too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to stay away from the.
Fruits and veggies are always
Okay, well, let's jump in then, ladies. Let's first discuss with our audience what is divine feminine, right? Because I think there's a lot of different definitions going around, and it has a long history in all different cultures. So the way it's defined in the cyber world is divine feminine is the feminine aspect of the divine power that connects and binds the earth. And there were a lot of different definitions, but I liked that one because I think of divine feminine, I think of earth, water, I think of nature. Many ancient cultures had a divine feminine concept. So Egyptians had Isis, Greeks had Aphrodite, Hindus had Shakti. I was talking about Shakti earlier. And this is just to name a few, right? If you think about Yoruba, like Ifa, divine feminine is in Oshun and Yamaya. In Christianity, divine feminine, that energy would be in Mother Mary. So every culture has found a way to give symbolism to her. It's just interesting how people don't realize every creature, every living creature has divine feminine, no matter what the vessel, male or female, and that everybody needs to have it in balance in order to have inner peace and harmony. And that also goes for divine masculine, which I know is another topic. But those two things are in each human, each vessel, and they need to be in balance. So, Kidada, that brings me to you. So one of the questions that I did get a little bit about you, because I'm so excited, because these ladies know you so well, but I don't.
For some time, and they're on
I don't though.
It's been a long
right?
time.
Yeah.
So
I was in Versailles with all her stuff on. I was like,
you're
no.
the
I have
face
no Tamika
You're
Beard.
the
This
face
minute.
of my company.
So the little bit that I got that I thought was interesting was you described your spiritual affiliation as Afro-spiritual rooted in Haitian voodoo. The reason why I found that to be interesting was twofold. One, I wouldn't say it's a part of my own spiritual practice day to day, but I ascribe to a lot of what happens in Ifa, and right, and kind of how I work. Also, my grandmother's Haitian. So
we're more connected than we proposed.
realized.
And
Like when I saw that, I was
circle.
like, "Well, hello, sister."
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I would love for
You know me in spirit.
yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I would love for you to explain that, like your spiritual understanding and how you see things and how it relates to divine feminine.
Right.
And then one last thing to add to this, while you do that, if you could also just give the viewers a little backstory about who you are
Sure.
as you come to that.
Okay. Well, let's start there. So I'm Haitian. I grew up in New York City and in Lower New England. Most of my adult life, moved to Austin, Texas about 14 years ago. And that was, even coming to that was a whole spiritual journey. I grew up in a family that was always very metaphysical, typically biblically based. Very biblically based. But I grew up with a great grandmother, for example, who everyone had legends and knew of her ability to perform exorcisms, for example. I had my great grandfather. I always grew up with stories. If you're a Haitian kid, you grew up with stories all the time of like zombies and what they call lugau, which is like, creatures that fly in the night or people who can morph and all of these things. Like you grew up with that and were scared to death as a child when they would talk about these stories. Because unlike here, where people talk about that as it's fiction, in Haiti, they talk about that as a complete actuality. People can do that, right? And so my mom was brilliant. My mom went through so much growing up, and I feel like there's so much that she wanted to actualize and maybe couldn't do it for herself, but like imparted a whole lot of information into me. And so part of her education of her children, period, was that we understood the basics of metaphysical comprehension and the differentiation of colonial pragmatics and indigenous pragmatics and spirituality, right? So, for example, let's talk about the people who live in the hills in Haiti or whatever. There was always understanding that my mother always explained to me, she was like, well, those people can't read and write. And what reading writing does is it activates a part of your brain that can't deactivate. And because they didn't learn how to read and write, there's a part of their brain that is activated, that is not activated within us that have learned how to read and write. Mm-hmm. And so the way that she explains that, and the way I've seen others explain that, and I'll get to that in a second, is that you can break it down to literacy. So they know how to read the rain. They know how to read the dew. They know how to read the river. They know how to read the soil, the stars. They know how to read that. Mm-hmm. And that has been compromised in us, even though we know how to read very literally, right? Mm-hmm. And so she was like, when that happens, there are certain chambers and certain circuitry that just isn't active in you. And you have to consciously try to reactivate it, even though that you've gone through this. And one person who is paramount in that understanding and has imparted it into the world is Dr. Malidoma Somé. God rest his soul. He's passed on, but he wrote the book of rites and rituals, of water and spirit, the rites and rituals of an African shaman. Mm. And so he also explains that is what his grandfather spoke to him about. So this is two separate times in my life. My mother's explaining this work, and then I come across Malidoma's work, and he explains the exact same thing my mother explained to me, right? And the book is incredible. I don't want to get into it because we're talking about the divine feminine. Although his wife, God rest her soul, she passed not too long ago, S1E15 Somé, is paramount in his world about the feminine practice. And I highly recommend folks check out S1E15 Somé's work. The Intimacy of Spirituality is a book that she wrote that's really popular. And she has a variety of different topics that she has on YouTube, et cetera, where she talks about the feminine state, feminine initiation in her culture and all of that, which is really great.
And they're both African. Are they of
Yes, they're from
Europe?
Burkina Faso.
Okay.
They're from Burkina Faso. And their story is incredible. Highly recommend reading their works to understand the indigenous mindset, how it applies to modern, or not, I wouldn't say modern. I don't like to make
the
it.
Afro tradition has fed every single.
Everything.
Everything.
So to get into your second question, that is why I say I'm more Afro-spiritual. One, I don't really rock with religion. Mm-hmm. I don't rock with religiosity because I feel like it can breed fanaticism. Mm-hmm. And so fanaticism, whereas people are like, oh, people are sheep. I'm like, I'd rather someone be a sheep than be a fanatic, because a fanatic will harm even the thing that they are fanatic about. You know what I mean? Like if you think of someone who won the World Series, the fans who won the World, they damaged their own city because of their fanaticism. A fanatic will just buy a ticket, buy a jersey.
I think they're both dangerous.
They're both dangerous.
Yeah.
They're both dangerous. If I were to pick the lesser of the evils, I think a sheep is lesser than the fanatic, because the fanatic will kill somebody.
Yeah.
Will kill somebody over what they believe. And you can see that in a variety of things. And of course, it's all on a spectrum. You might say that the sheep is the spectrum of fanaticism too. You know what I mean? Like everything's on a spectrum.
There was this, just real quick, there was this one of these prank videos. That's my guilty pleasure. I like pranks.
I love that too.
Okay, so people were receiving communion at this church, this new church, and the priest would slap you. So they would give you the communion and slap you to the point where it was like, boom, and knock, and they cut to the people's faces like, whoa, what's going on? And then like the next person got slapped, and they stayed in line.
Right.
And I was like, I don't.
Why are they staying?
I mean, it's communion. You can go to any Catholic church and
go get it.
Go to a different place.
What would have been funny is the video of me grabbing my purse like, I'm out of here.
Right.
Walking out the door.
But I just thought of that when you said the sheep. I agree with you. I think it's on a spectrum.
Right.
I think it's the same thing where somebody has taken over your ability to think independently.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So
I
go
agree.
on.
But so that's why I say it's more of an Afro spiritual lens, rooted in Haitian Vodou, because that's I did not grow up in Haitian Vodou, mind you. My family is biblically based, mystically based, biblically based. But I was also always taught that people make things evil. It's not the structure of the system itself that makes things evil.
That's what my
Mhm.
grandfather used to tell me
Yeah.
about voodoo.
Yeah.
He was like, first of all, it can't hurt you
Mhm.
if you aren't thinking in that way.
Precisely.
Mhm.
Precisely.
And we talked about that in our previous episodes about tapping in and to this other side, and how if you tap into that other side and have good intent or on a higher frequency and vibration, then everything good is going to come from that.
Right.
There's not going to be any evil from that.
Yeah. I often talk about often in the church, like, or in many other things, people talk about the devil so much. I'm just like, you give him a lot of, I'm like, he ain't nothing but a sucker. And I don't know why. He ain't nothing but a sucker, whatever entity, however you want to play it, however you want to genderize it. Like, it ain't nothing but a sucker. And you give it so much energy. Like, there's nothing about it, you, that has more command or power than God. None of it. So I try not to give that energy. But so rooted in Haitian Vodou, one of the things that always allured me, the culture, the vibration, the communion, the rapport for nature, etc. But also there is no hierarchy between men and women in Vodou. There is no hierarchy.
There's balance.
There is balance.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that misogyny doesn't exist, because it's culture.
Right. But you're talking about the actual practice.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. There is no hierarchy between men and women. And so as many male figures, if you want to call them Loi, deities, Orisha, whatever, you'll find that in the feminine, just as many. And
they're revered.
And they're revered.
So,
and they're revered by men and women, by all people.
Can you tell the audience what is voodoo? I mean, we're talking about it, but we're not actually talking about what it is. If it's not a religion.
So one, I want to clarify that we in English and in the Americas we say voodoo, but it's voodoo. Voodoo. And the reason I want to make that distinction is because voodoo is what it conjures up is kind of like the colonialist, propagandized version of Afro spirituality. That's why you got voodoo donuts and voodoo beer garden or whatever. Sorry, voodoo donuts. I actually love your donuts.
I love voodoo donuts too, but I mean,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so you could, it's very interesting that it's like this evil thing, but like you label all these products with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. And there's actually happened.
We'll bring you back for that episode.
Yeah. I mean, I could go in. And so the opportunity to take on Vodou is about, for me, Vodou is about technology and science more than it is about a spiritual practice. And so my teacher, one of my teachers, my spiritual mother mentor now, I'm going to say her full name properly, Pogito Queen Mother, Reverend Dr. Mambo Asogwe Dowoti Desir Semenvo the First.
Wow.
She's mother to the diaspora for the Republic of Benin. She's my spiritual mother, etc.
Is that the woman you brought here?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that. But Vodou is a technology, and I gravitated towards her because she recognized and taught me more so about that. One of the things, like when we talk about enslaved people, for example, kidnapped, captured people, is we don't take into consideration that a lot of these, many of them were doctors. They were engineers. They were surgeons. They weren't, there's a character in Haitian Vodou, not a character, but a historical figure called Boukman, who was a Jamaican enslaved person who started the Haitian Revolution, one of the key figures in starting the Haitian Revolution, not the only person. But he was called Bookman. And the reason they called him Bookman is because when he came across the Atlantic with a book that he had on him all the time. So these people were literate.
They were literate. Yep.
Yeah, no, we in the diaspora know that.
Right.
But the other colonial people are trying to make us like we were just these savages with, spears and stuff on the island of Africa,
right,
not doing anything, and they saved us from that.
And a lot of us
we
still
were
believe
building
that.
dynasties, and
right,
doing
kingdoms. Incredible,
yes,
and have all the resources,
and had
all
the
of
resources.
them, all
so
the resources.
Part of the talking about resources, so that the intelligence of material. Of nature and its materials is part of why how I identify voodoo. It's like, okay, so you have your cell phone, but the cell phone, the elements that make a cell phone run are elements that you have to find and go dig in the earth in Africa.
Only.
Only, right? So is that not voodoo? If you're taking it from this thing, you're refining it and putting in that so that you can have this altered, otherworldly communication. You're on that side of the world somewhere. I'm over here somewhere. And you're in another dimension. I'm in another dimension. And we're using that to communicate. What is the difference if I just dug that up myself or sat on it or whatever, or put it in proper ceremony so that I could probably use it as transmission, but did not defile and did not pollute in order to do that? Well, that's voodoo to me. That is voodoo. It is the concern for these powers and gifts without there being this maximum amount of pollution and disruption to the earth, understanding ourselves, our vessels, and our world technologically.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I love that. I love that correlation, the parallel. It's funny because I thought you were going to go into like the science of energy and the science of plant and medicine. That's another part of it too. That's also science. Sure. But I love that you brought it to what is like technology,
right,
to like the current science,
right,
too. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I felt like that was something I was always learning from different teachers, and I felt, which were mostly women. Is just keep that anchored. And Queen Mother definitely emphasized that in her teachings with me is one, please register that the Africans that developed voodoo, Haitian voodoo specifically, a lot of these people were learned.
Yeah.
It's not just hoogity boogity nonsense, like they were learned people. I think one, that helps to elevate our sense of self. And then secondly, to understand that if we were stolen, our knowledge was also stolen. So this ain't nothing. None of this is new. We just did it with a particular intention and concern rather than a rapacious attitude towards it.
But and a capitalistic agenda.
Yeah.
Just
with a capitalistic agenda.
But I was going to say that is the reason why they cut us off from our culture, our history, and then replaced it with their Christianity. Because just think of if we had have brought those customs and traditions over here with us and were able to, like, who and what would we be? And where would they be?
Right.
Yeah. They wouldn't have been able to get away with as much as they did if they didn't cut us off and then start feeding us this.
And we've been programmed. And speaking of technology, the cell phone,
yes,
the electromagnetic frequencies that they're feeding us on the TV and through the cell phones and with kids with their iPads and all of that, that frequency is low vibrational. So being able to tap in to what our ancestors have given us, to what Creator has given us, is clouded. It's cloudy because we have been fed all these frequencies and we can't tap in the way we need to, and we can't remember who we are.
Yeah.
And so now we're slowly peeling back this like revealing or revelation of like who we are as a people, as a human race as well.
Yeah.
I think it's happening a little bit faster though than like not just slowly peeling it back. There are droves of Black people going back to where we came from. Yeah. And our cultures and all that stuff.
Yeah. And that's the flip side of the technology is like, you can't really control whatever their intention was. Again, like, it's like you ain't nothing but a sucker. Like, God is always going to prevail over all things. Like, it doesn't matter what the intention was. The fact that it can still be altered in a manner, even just by our holding it. I don't encourage that because of how much you have to cleanse yourself afterwards due to those frequencies. But there is still something about your intention over that material that is like, I want to find more. I want to find more.
And that
so
was
you
going to
can.
be my question for you.
Mhm.
Like with this, you articulated it beautifully, like where you're coming from.
Mhm.
I'm wondering how it is now feeding what you're doing. Like if you could talk a little bit about how you are sharing your understanding of this with the work that you do.
So as an artist, it's always in my work. There's a song, my husband and I believe that technology, community is the greatest technology.
And remember, they know you really well.
Right.
Exactly what kind of artist.
Let
So
me-
you're a
I'll
singer.
people one time.
Tell the people. Tell the people.
So my husband and I have a group called Riders Against the Storm. We're a hip hop duo, have been making music for over a decade. And we also produce quite a bit of events. We used to have a festival called Ross Day here in Austin, Texas. We've performed all over the place. We've performed with anybody and everybody you could think of in the hip hop world. And it has been a fantastic ride. The base of our work is always Afro-spiritual, based in the power of technology, based in the power of the technology of community.
Okay.
Right? Everything that we do. So my husband has a nonprofit called DAWA, Diversity and Wellness in Action. And so that is an organization that he uses to support BIPOC people that are being particularly pushed out, folks on the front line. So that's artists, that's teachers, that's social workers that are being pushed out of Austin, and giving them emergency funds, giving them a free podcast place, giving them, I can't think of any, just so many different. He can explain it better. He puts on wonderful programs. He has a partnership with South by Southwest called that is about the 1928 proclamation that basically pushed all of the people of color to one side, Black people to one side, to the east side of Austin.
Redlining.
Yeah. But he calls it 8291, which is in reverse in an attempt to kind of rectify some of those behaviors and legislation. So everything we do is rooted in that. Everything. And so my work personally, I've done a lot of spiritual consultation, spiritual mentorship, and classes, books, things like that. And all of it is really to kind of understand how colonialism has had women not operate from their heart because they do you cuss? Can we cuss on here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to call it dickhead, right?
That's not even a curse word.
Okay, it's not. Okay, great.
It's a term of endearment.
So dickhead is what I call the colonial force that has us feel like our minds are the most powerful things we have. Our minds are the most powerful engine in our body. Why? Because the mind is actually very malleable. It's very easy to manipulate. And so they want you to stay in there. It's very easy to lie in the mind because actually the mind is very literal. So it just takes in the literal concept of what you are saying. So in a sense, it's very easy to program in that way.
Right. Well, because of emotions. It's the limbic brain.
Right. Well, you got the book size. I don't know. But I know what I know.
I'm sitting over here smiling.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
you're
correct.
right.
So, but what some indigenous knowledge that is now being found in modern science is that the heart also has neurotransmitters. It also has these same kind of opportunities, wiring that the brain has, the heart has. And the thing is, there's an institution called the Heart Math Institute. And there was a movie that was done. I can't find it anymore, but it basically talks about the ability of the heart and its rate of transmission. And basically, the heart can't lie. And so a lot of the construct, particularly in women, is to have us live in dickhead and not allow us to function from a space of the heart where you cannot lie. And people will be like, oh, look, your heart always lies to you. It's like, it actually does not lie to you.
Doesn't.
No, there's a song.
It does not
The heart
lie.
don't lie. It actually cannot lie. It's like math. The number's number.
I have to say, so in mediumship, when people cross over, they lose their dickhead. They are operating from here. So they don't lie to you.
That's right.
There's no guile. They don't manipulate. If somebody says, I love my daughter, tell my daughter I love her. It's just like that. It's not like, I love my daughter. None of that.
No,
I'm not trying to prove anything.
That
heart.
right there.
Which circles
Right.
back around to the divine feminine.
That's right. Right. And so, like, you think about the Queen of Hearts, or you think about Erzili. So one of the deities in I hate using those words. One of the archetypes in Haitian Vodou is Erzili Freda or Erzili Danto. So Erzili Danto is kind of represented by the Black Madonna, like that. She's very fiercely protective of women and children, etc. And also Erzili Freda. And to communicate with these forces or these archetypes, or to draw that force, you create what they call a veve. And the veve is basically a drawing that a priest or priestess will kind of like I liken it to a microchip, if that might get confusing for people. But I liken it to a microchip because it's a framework that gets drawn out, and it helps to activate a communication between
Like a blueprint.
like a blueprint. if you
Blueprint.
will.
Okay. Yeah.
But it actually helps to activate and stimulate communication and energetic processing. So that's why I call it a microchip.
And that's what the circuit looks like.
That's what exactly.
That's what the energy circuit.
I can get into it. I don't want to go. You got to do some studying before I bring you into some other knowledge and information.
I always say
it.
you go you and be authentic and let them come, right?
Yeah.
Let energy match energy.
Also,
Because the people
Come at
who
me.
want the information, it will hit them. It will land on them.
Yeah.
The other ones
Absolutely.
who are not ready for this type of conversation, but this is why we're doing this
this is why
show,
we're doing
to
it.
bring these conversations to the people.
You're here to
So-
speak authentically and speak exactly how you're speaking.
They gonna meet you, baby. They
We're
gonna meet
ready.
you
I'm
anyway.
okay for them to meet me. I just,
Yeah.
certain
Mhm.
there. My teachers also like there's certain knowledge that you can only give out to. You cannot give out freely, and I don't mean financially speaking. I literally mean like
No, like
you
Sacred.
don't.
Sacred.
It's sacred.
It's sacred.
Yeah.
It's sacred.
Yes,
That's more so
absolutely.
what I mean.
Yeah.
But I will say that I liken it to a microchip. So let's just go there.
So wait, before you go on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you said Erzli.
Yeah, Erzili, right. Freda.
Now, in this is an archetype in Haitian.
Vodou. Mhm.
Okay, because I did a movie. Shout out to me called Erzli. But in the movie, she's a mermaid.
Oh, I met the sister that was
Yeah.
the lead in that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, look at that.
Layla. Anastasia. Yeah.
That's right.
So I just wanted to make sure that it was the correlation was correct.
Erzili Freda, yes. I don't liken her to a water spirit, but she is a feminine that is very much connected to the water. So it does touch bases. And mermaids are very prevalent in Haitian folklore. Very, very, very prevalent, very important part of Haitian folklore. They give you powers,
And the water, what the energy from water, and how there's that connection. There's something happens with water where there's a connection to the spirit world as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
And so Erzili Freda, so but I was saying that to say that their veves are heart-shaped. Their veves are heart-shaped. And so when we talk about the feminine, those are some of the premier powers, archetypes in that construct. And the fact that it's a heart really does stimulate a lot in my mind, in my imagination. And I think the heart, and Freda is very, very akin to me, very, very close to me, very, very much my archetype. And so I focus a lot on the heart and what it means to help women activate and stimulate the heart as a primary source, primary engine, primary platform to work from and work through. But in order to do that, a lot of the debris that we have captured, because we're not taught how to exercise our ethereal heart, we're not taught the fact that it emits and absorbs even more powerfully than our brains do. We're not taught that our uteruses are another brain. It can build a lung. It can build a nervous system, a skeletal system, holds DNA, RNA. It is literally another brain. It is literally a machine that can build a human being.
So when you talk about divine feminine, you're talking about this heart-centric connection.
Yes, for the most part. For me.
I'm just trying to encapsulate it.
No, of course, you're doing a great job because I can go a little bit later. But for me, the heart is really, really, really paramount because in order for a woman to be controlled, her heart has to be shut off. Her heart has to be shut down. Because, there's women's intuition, if you will, all of that. But there's also the power of being able to melt, for the lack of a better word, and be able to melt a facade in someone. And so the heart, not only as, a repository, not only as something that can register something, but as something that can also emit. Once you kind of engage with it to a degree of certain power, you can also melt a facade. I'll give you an example. One time, so I'm in the music industry. It gets wild. You think?
Preach, girl.
Yeah,
preach.
we all know about the entertainment industry. Yeah.
So one time there was this cat. There was in a hip hop group. This was years ago, maybe like 10 years ago. I was at a party, and this one cat was just like being really obnoxious. He was a part of a group that was like blowing up at the time, but they only had like one hit, underground hit, whatever. But they were like pretty significant at the time. And so he was hitting on me. He was carrying on. And so my husband started to get really upset. And I was just like, don't, just, we're good. And so I was like, how am I going to get this guy out? So I just kind of like paused for a second so I could register what I was going to do. And so he was saying all kinds of crazy stuff, bringing me back to his hotel, all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I looked at him. I just kind of like let my heart feel him. And then I was like, how's your drug habit? And then he just went away.
Oh. Shut him down. Shut him down.
Yes.
I didn't argue with him. I just let my heart find him. And then I was able to use that information not to harm him, but to
make him go away.
To shut him down. Yeah. Because I want to just surface what's in your heart that you don't want to deal with.
I think that,
and so since you don't want to deal with it, you pull away.
Yeah.
I think that also goes into correlation with when you're in a relationship, and it's a relationship where you may not be sure whether or not you want to get out because you think you love this person or you think that they're the right person for you. But then if you take that time to listen with your heart, you cannot be manipulated. I don't know who's talking, but the heart is saying, time to go. It's time to go. It's time to move forward. So I do believe that when you use your heart to like truly like listen and speak, then everything else, like you said, melts away. It's like it's the true, authentic you. It's
That's
that
right.
pure, that essence of you.
Yeah. And I feel like when a woman has access to that, and for me, that's part of the divine feminine principle is it, like you said, there's a lot of definitions floating about. But for me, it's about this level of attaining a level where you find this power, like the one I just spoke of, and you're able to wield it for higher order.
Well, it's interesting because I hear you, right? And we're all kind of figuring out ego and our power. What I just heard and what I've envisioned was you living in authenticity.
Yeah.
This man is so filled up with all of this, noise and chaos, and you cut right through it. Like you want to talk to me. Let's have a real conversation. And if you can't handle that vibration, bye.
Right.
And so brother man took off. You could tell how old I am.
If he
I
couldn't
just said
handle that,
brother
he
man.
would never be able to handle any of the
anything else.
Not
I
that
just
he had
had
a chance anyway.
Right. Not that he would get a chance anyway,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
yeah.
no, and
That's a lot of what
and
I
I
think
think
about.
this is just a really great way for people to hear about divine feminine because these words become catchphrases.
Mm-hmm.
They've just become something to say,
Yeah.
not this living, breathing thing that we're experiencing. I don't want to run out of time before you have an opportunity to talk about the PBS.
It was fast.
It was
I know.
that was really fast. I was like, we just time warped. You hosted an event on March 30th called Black Divas. And this is something that you do, it looks like every year. Could you speak on that? Because the thing that really looked so fascinating to me was an evening song honoring the birth working community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you speak on that?
Tell us about that.
So I know. I'm so sad.
So Black Divas was the birth child of a project that I came up with really last year. I kept listening I was going through my own metamorphosis. First of all, I had a baby.
Congratulations.
He's 2, but I think a lot of people my age don't have children, are not newly baby people.
Yeah.
Although that's changing. I do have a few friends that actually have had children.
Are they also in the entertainment industry?
Partly.
Yeah.
Yeah, partly. Yeah. So I had a baby, and so that grew me up fast. I think I always associated that with teenage mothers, that it grows you up fast. But I feel like no matter when you have children, it just grows you up fast.
Listen,
you got to start
I'm a
adulting.
grandmother
Birth
to
and
a
death.
4-year-old.
Yeah.
And when my son, I had him young in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done. I'm wild. I'm free. And she has grown me up some more. Because now I'm like, how can this be?
Yep. It's
Right.
adulting.
I'm so perplexed by it. Like I love when my prejudices get broken, and that was definitely one. I was like, no, you get grown up regardless. Yes. So that grew me up quite a bit, and it also thrusted me into the birth working community, right? So I was really fortunate. I've always worked with people who kind of function on the fringe, or of always finding alternate solutions to, institutional formats. And so I've always been familiar with birth workers and doulas and things of that nature, Black birth working people in particular. And so my husband actually is the one that found my doula, found my birth worker. And he, I was really fortunate that I actually had them both. I was supposed to have them both in a room, but I have both in a room. And that was really, really helpful. And it really let me into their world. And they were like, I didn't understand that they weren't just taking care of you during birth, that they were taking care of you in your home. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that they were on a particular mission, anti-colonial mission. Some, not all, but the ones I was dealing with were on an anti-colonial mission in the sense that we were safer with ourselves than we were.
Mm-hmm. So you had a home birth.
I did not.
You did? Okay. All right.
I was supposed to, but it was during the winter freeze. And so the water got contaminated because the electricity went out. No. And so the water filtration company, whatever, went out. And so the midwife was like, we can't have you in the bathtub. We don't know what bacteria is in the water, right? So, but it was fine. And so I was in labor for 3 days.
Wow.
Word.
I was in labor for 3 days.
But I love that you had a doula there that let you be in labor for 3 days.
Right.
Because in the hospital, they would have induced you.
Right. I did go to the hospital, but fortunately, I had all my doula and my birthday, and so they did not let me.
They were advocates for you.
They were quite the advocates. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Shout out Denise Washington. Shout out, Jay. I forget her last name. Anyway, Jay the doula. Find her on Instagram. But really, really wonderful. And so getting thrusted into that world, and I really realized how much it was aligned with my mission, just the anti-colonial aspect of it. And also the notion that really struck to me that provoked me to want to do the project was just like, well, highlighting these women because I was just like, we're always trying to retroactively deal with colonialism. It's like we're birthed into the world. Now we're trying to undo it all. I was just like, but what if we just caught ourselves before we got consumed by it?
I like that.
Right? What happens if the person catching you already has an anti-colonial lens? What happens then?
What generation of Haitian are you? Are you
First generation.
You're first generation.
I'm first generation. So my mom was born there.
She
I
was
grew up a
born in
little
Haiti.
bit. My mom and my dad.
The reason I asked is because I wasn't just out in left field.
No, cool.
Your relationship with colonialism,
Right.
the way it is so palpable to you, right?
Right. Yeah,
It sounds like you got here more recently than some
Right.
of us.
And also like my lineage. So there's a lot to me. So like my lineage, my great grandfather was Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And so Jean-Jacques Dessalines was the general at the time that actually that led the charge to oust Napoleon from Haiti and overthrow
I know
French
who that
colonialism.
is.
You know, yeah.
All right
Haitian
then.
Revolution.
Right. So
Wow.
it's French, like anti-colonialism
that
is
explains a lot.
entrenched in me from
I
birth.
love that you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah,
And you
my
know
family.
that from speaking, like
From speaking, but also there's like a family tree.
She
That's
knows her
fantastic.
history.
Yeah, I had a family tree. That's actually what led me back to Benin, where I met Queen Mother, because I was actually I listened very well, and so the spirits were just like, it's time for you. The ancestors were like, it's time for you to go home. You need to go connect with your. So it was very cathartic for me. I was like and Queen Mother is Haitian. She's of Haitian descent. So she's the first Haitian woman to be enthroned in the African diaspora in Africa.
In Africa.
In Africa, rather.
Yeah, because they're very particular about
Yeah, very particular. So she was enthroned, and so it was very cathartic for me. I was on ancestral land of people that I know directly of my ancestry on their land, watching the enthronement of a
Ooh,
Haitian
I just got
woman.
all the
Yeah,
chills.
no, it was a thing. honey.
That's
It was a thing.
amazing.
Wow.
But that's a testament to my degree to listen. Also, it was really, really wonderful. But the project, which she was a part of that is about elevating this anti-colonial thing without being in your face about it. And it was done in a way with Black females' voices, because I feel like Black females' voices have healed so much of the planet. Like if you think about Aretha, you think about Beyonce, you think about all these Black divas and the work that they've done. I was like, well, what if we created an echo chamber which anyone can participate in? Everyone's going to enjoy it because that's what sisters do when sisters sing. But what if there is an echo chamber so that the work that we're doing, the healing work that comes through the voice, actually reverberates back into the people it came
Okay,
from?
so this is a singing, like this
Full out.
singing, and I see the energy, like the messaging is about the birth.
It's about birth and birth workers and
workers.
the undertone of anti-colonialism. But it's just got shot. I partnered with PBS last year. It's going to be airing. I don't know when it's going to be aired. We have to go into editing soon because it was just a few weeks ago that we shot it. But it's going to go through, it's
Thank you for
affiliated.
clarifying that, because I misunderstood. I thought it was a live event. You shot this
It is
to
a live
air
and a broadcast event.
and broadcast,
Yes.
and so they need to cut it. Okay,
Yeah,
got
they
it.
need to cut it. So it is
Well, we will definitely circle back and
Yeah.
like just put a little post when we know it's going to air
Yes,
for people.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's exciting. So that's the crux of the project. It kind of stays in line with what I'm about anyway.
And
So-
just so you know, I'm sorry
Oh, it's
to
okay.
interrupt you, but next year I will be available. I will make sure.
You be working, child.
I know, girl. But on my journey that I've been going through, remember when we talked with Jane, she said, and I have been doing more of the singing with my band, that I am here to heal with my voice. And she said,
She said that. She said
Yeah.
those words to her.
yeah, so I got to
Ashe.
start doing more of that and getting it more out there.
Before we run out of time, I just one last thing from you,
Yeah.
priestess of the party. I love that.
Let's go.
I just want to know, because there's so much, right? There's so much that I can tell you have to share and that you want to share. Is there anything in particular that you would like to leave our viewers with as it pertains to Divine Feminine? Anything that maybe they can take home with them?
The Divine Feminine is, for me, and what I promote as soft and as gentle as all that is, soft and gentle is still powerful. And there's still a high level of responsibility attached to divine feminine and the divine feminine process. It can be in the industry, in the spiritual industry, it can be a whole lot of like woo woo and flower crowns and, going to Bali and all of these different things. Not that I don't want to go to Bali, but
Okay.
the point is that it's also a high level of responsibility. It is the Great Mother, and she is responsible for a lot. I was fortunate to be in ceremony one time, and Earth Mother spoke to me, and she was just like, how dare you think you could save me? You don't have the power to save me. You don't have the force to save me. It's I who save you. It being a great mother is a fantastic responsibility and power. Learn what that means. And that's the imperative part of what I feel like the divine feminine is. It's beautiful, it's pretty, yes, it's soft and all that, but that's really just the icing on the cake. It's
Right. So you're leaving them with that it's rooted in motherhood.
It is definitely rooted in motherhood. I think so.
I think that's lost on it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. The one thing we didn't talk about was Body Rock.
Body Rock.
Yeah.
We have time.
And Ani, we're gonna have to bring you out to a Body Rock.
No, it's okay.
because
They've been hiding you away from me. They didn't want us to meet.
It is a
Well, no,
We gotta get our Body Rock
it
on.
had to be on in a certain
Yes, well, that's how we all connected. That's about the community.
Yeah.
That's
well,
what it is.
we haven't been. It's a religious experience. It's like church.
Okay.
But we haven't been because we've all just been so busy. I'm part-time in
Body
Atlanta
Rock
now.
is what you and your husband.
correct.
Okay.
Party
Yeah.
and our DJ.
I was thinking Riders on the Storm because of the song.
Riders Against the Storm. Right.
Riders Against the Storm.
It's an evening
We always
and
do
night
that.
into the morning of dancing and sweating and just like it's just amazing
Yeah.
on so many levels.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's also part of my spiritual work, is creating safe spaces for people to kind of dissolve their facades and allow themselves to be freed up. And I also don't feel like spiritual spaces need to be limited to temples and things like that. Like you should be available to spiritual powers and forces, divine power and force, wherever you are, however you are, whatever you look like, whatever drugs you on, whatever sobriety you're on, all of it, God can find you in all of it. So.
And you unite so many different people. It's like people from all ethnicities. It's
That's
not
right.
just about
Right.
us. It's about
Again,
everyone
dissolving
bringing
the
us all
facade,
together.
The
Yeah.
skin, tongue, all of it's a facade.
We have a couple more minutes.
Go.
I have to ask you something.
Yes.
You say that that in the Haitian culture, you grew up with a Christian lens,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mystic Christian, but yes.
Mystic Christian.
Mhm.
So where are you now with Christianity? I heard you say earlier, I was paying attention,
Mm-hmm.
religiosity is not really your cup of tea.
Mhm.
But where are you with the tenets of Christianity?
I love Christianity. I love Christianity. And the reason I love Christianity is because it is a part of the pantheon of Afro spirituality. It is Afro spiritual. It has been corrupted. It has been misused to enslave people, much like a lot of religions, no matter what religion.
Right. So you love
Correct.
Christianity at its root.
Correct. Because I feel
You
like
just have a
Christ-
problem when it goes into
Right,
these
the
different-
construct.
okay.
Because I feel like Christ came to say exactly what I'm saying. It's like you are the emission, you are the transmission, you are the direct portal to divine. You have to. The only way to it is inside. And he also came to dismantle, like, I feel like that's the part of it that I always connected with, is when he dismantled the Pharisees and all of these people. It's like these spiritual leaders or whoever, they're all corrupt. Like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
Turn over the table in the temple. This ain't it.
No, that's really fascinating because you're speaking to a person who is very removed from Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to understand what being Christed is.
Right.
And how it's not only Jesus that
Mhm.
can have this. Right. And I do understand the tenets of it, but I always kind of, I'm careful because of all of the constructs, because of all of the corruption.
Agreed.
And the power in the manipulation.
Right.
So,
I found the corruption in all of it. Like there's corruption in Vodou. There's corruption in Hindu practices.
But that's what I was going to leave with. Like, I think that's part of divine feminine.
Yeah.
You stopped and found the heart of it. And that's what we're all trying to do. And that, to me, just to tie it up real nice and neat for those who like to just, what is divine feminine? Cut to the end. It is following the heart, listening to the heart, and living in authenticity, authentically heart-centric. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, really quick. Tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes. You can find me on Instagram, Key.Alife. Also, that is where you go into the link in bio. That's where you can buy my new book called Color Your Heart, 25 Ways to Keep Your Heart Light. And that is about ethereal exercises that you can actually do for your heart. That's the simplest way possible. Just little exercises, one thing a day you can choose, and how to actually have a relationship with your heart. I also teach classes. I also have courses, things like that. All of that's coming, but music is on the way. So many different things are on there, but find me on Instagram for the most part.
And we're having you back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Goodbye,
We
everybody.
love
Back
you.
Say bye. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye. If you're confused about whether or not your divine feminine is out of balance, here are a couple things that you can check for to see. First of all, see if abundance is coming to you easily. I don't mean if you're going out there working hard and making a decent living. I mean if abundance in terms of friendship, love, money, things that you want, if they just appear. If those things are happening easily, it sounds like your divine feminine is in good place. If it's not, if you're always feeling some sense of lack, then you're out of balance. And again, this goes for men and women. It does not matter the vessel. We both have divine feminine and we both need it. If you do feel this, the first thing you can do is start going out in nature, allowing yourself to say yes more and receive, and find someone who understands this energetic dynamic and have a dialogue. Thank you for listening.